Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, my background has changed. A little bit of life changes and whatnot, all good things. But I will probably address that another time. But I just wanted to come on to say I hope you guys are like me and enjoying your time playing Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. And for those of you who might be new to the world of Shadowverse, let me be the one to tell you that one of the most exciting things, for me at least, is the looming idea of potential patch notes in the future. So, and what I mean is not just bug fixes, but if you've never played a side games game before, they usually like to do things like balancing of the meta. You know, they'll usually provide you with a really long, detailed list, like a breakdown of sorts as to what changes they're making and why, supply the data. You know, this card has been in all these lists that have been winning, blah, 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 blah. And so they'll make adjustments to cards that either need help or cards that need to be nerfed. And I know that the idea of, oh man, my legendaries are going to get weaker. Well, now I don't want them. You know, what am I going to do? Well, typically speaking, side games would usually let you kind of refund the card, like craft it for the maximum amount of vials that you could to get a legendary. And I know right now there's still a lot of controversy in that the crafting or dismantling legendaries kind of sucks. I hope that'll get changed in the future, but regardless, ban lists or nerf buff lists, whatever you want to call it, they're always exciting to me because it makes a change in the meta, and I love to predict these kinds of things. So I wanted to put out a video that just puts out my predictions for patch notes in the future for cards that might be adjusted. Keep in mind, these are just my opinion. I don't want to offend anybody. You know, if you want to have a discussion about it, please put a comment in the comment section and consider subscribing so we can have more comments in the future. But with that being said, let's move on to the first card on our list. The first card on our list is going to be Angelic Prism Priestess. Angelic Prism Priestess is a 3-cost Haven follower with 2 attack, 2 defense, and a fanfare effect that allows you to draw a random amulet from your deck. When evolved, this card also allows you to select any amulet in your hand and permanently reduce its cost by 1. My issues with this card is that I feel like it comes in a little bit too late in the progression of the game. Turns 1 through 4 are extremely crucial to the outcome of the game, in my opinion, and playing this on turn 3 as it currently reads is incredibly weak, and it's bound to set you back in terms of tempo. So my adjustment to this card would actually very simply be to lower the cost from 3 to 2, leave its attack and defense as 2, and this would allow you to play it on curve, and then imagine hitting something like Darkhaven Grace, playing that on turn 3, and then you can play it for 2 play points, you engage it for 1, and now your Prism Priestess is a 3/3. Like, that's a good curve play, and I don't think that's too strong for Haven to get. So that would be my change to Prism Priestess. Just lower her from 3 down to 2, and I think that would be fine. The next card on my list is actually still for Haven, and I'm actually a little bit on the fence with this one, but Lapis Shining Seraph. To me, it's a bit too weak to be dropped, you know, on turn 8, and I kind of think it's so weak right now that it's bound to be dropped from future Haven strategies, because it's just, you know, other classes are going to be getting stronger and faster most likely as new sets release. So it's you know, it's bound to get dropped, and it's only a matter of time before we start being introduced to cards that banish followers. At the moment, only cards like Iron Fist Priest does this, but yeah, I'm sure we'll see neutral cards that do so in the future. So she should be harder to resolve as more cards become available. But anyway, too often you're not really afforded the luxury to play Lapis on turn 8 unless you happen to have one of those games where your opponent opened terribly slow and left an empty board. But more often than not, though, you're probably not comfortably able to play Lapis because Haven's early game is pretty weak. You know, it's usually trying to keep up with the other deck before it can drop that. But I mean, it's not always the case. Like, sometimes you're ahead and it's going to happen, which is awesome. It's fantastic, but I don't know. My adjustment to Lapis would be to lower its cost to 7, make it a little bit easier to play. I would maybe consider lowering its attack and defense to 6/5, but I'm not really sure if that's totally necessary, considering the card does not have like built-in abilities like Rush, and it really needs like an evolution point to trigger its effect. You know, unless you play it into an empty board, but not always going to happen. Next card on my list is Calamity Breath. Man, so this is a 6-cost spell that very simply says to deal 5 damage to all followers. I want to point out, specifically, it says all followers, so it includes the activator's followers. Personally, I think this card is kind of dead on arrival as a 6-cost card. Like, Haven has cards like Unholy Vessel that is just leaps and bounds better than Calamity Breath. For the same cost, Unholy Vessel destroys all followers, so it's going to get rid of stuff. And another 6-cost card that's comparable is William Mysterian Student, which has the potential to deal, enough damage to out any follower in the game, and it's a 5/5 body. So Calamity Breath only doing 5 damage is pretty sad, to be honest. It's so irrelevant on turn 6 too, because so many followers on turn 4 and 5 alone already to evolve into followers that have more than 5 health. Like, think of cards like Zirconia and Anangrea. Those cards evolve into 6/6 followers, and plenty of time. No, we've all run into it. We've run into situations where it's a 6/6 body that we just can't out, that easily without either a hard minus or using an evolution point. And I don't know, Calamity Breath just doing 5 is just, it's not enough in my opinion. Also, think of cards like Lloyd. That's like a 1/6, Bane, Calamity Breath can't even out that. So, I think Calamity Breath definitely needs a buff. But I think there's 2 different ways I think we could change it. The first, I would say, is maybe to reduce its cost to, I guess I should go back to Calamity Breath, huh? The first would be to reduce its cost to 5 and allow it to deal the same amount of damage. So 5-drop spell, does 5 to the board. So that way, going second, you can use your extra play point and you'll certainly wipe out whatever board is there. But the second option I would say is to actually leave Calamity Breath to cost as 6, but increase the damage output to 6. I think with at least that change, it can out followers like Lloyd and a super evolved Kuon board backed up with Blaze Destroyers that we're all used to seeing. The nerf list. This is where I might start losing some of you, maybe. I don't know. Stay with me, though. Orcus Newfound Heart. I'm going to say that, to me, Orcus is probably in the top 5 best cards in the entire game right now, maybe top 3, actually. I think it deserves some attention because it's bound to be a staple in every Portal Craft strategy for the foreseeable future, given that it's like the full package of a powerhouse card. It can deal hefty damage, like at least 8 damage. It can clear giant threats easy, with puppets. And to top it all off, after doing your big turn, you leave your opponent with a Lloyd to answer, which is not really easy to do for most decks in the simplified game state. Orcus is no doubt insanely strong, and I think the way to nerf her would actually be to lower her stats to a 3/3 base. So this way she super evolves into a 6/6 rather than, the monstrous 8/8 that she is. And this change matters because if Orcus's stats cannot out a big follower, you might be forced to use one of your puppets or enhanced puppets to trade, rather than having the puppet hit face. This would make it easier for cards like Jean as well. Where's Jean at? There she is. It'd make it easier for cards like Jean to retaliate against an Orcus board, but if there's a follower that has at least 7 health, Orcus can't just trade into it. You're gonna have to ram a puppet into it. So I know, I think that this the stats being lowered is a fair adjustment, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe that's a little bit too tough, but I can't really see any other way to adjust her in any way that would not kill her. So moving on to, of course, I'm sure many of you were probably expecting this one to be on the list, but Anangrea Mysterian Duo is probably within the top 2 best cards in the entire game right now. On play, it spell boosts your entire hand by 3, which is crazy. It summons a 5/5 Russian Ward follower, which is crazy. And finally, it evolves into a 6/6 that deals 3 damage to any enemy follower. making it incredibly easy to out 3 bodies on curve in the early turns of the game. Without this card, Runecraft would probably just be unplayable, period. Like, they rely on this card so much right now. I have played Rune more than any other class since Worlds Beyond launched, and believe me when I tell you that this card needs to be adjusted. Playing this card on turn 4, going second, and leaving it at 6 health usually results in the card not being outed, which is a free 6 to the face the following turn. You know, it's crazy. And following it up with a second Anangrea is just backbreaking, man. It really is. So also, not evolving this card and just simply playing her on curve is still broken, because she still has a body and she shields your life and she spell boosted your hand by 3, making it likely that your next turn is going to be a strong one. You know, so I think it's a bit too strong. So here's what I think we should do. At first, I actually wanted to say that I was kind of thinking of going pretty nuclear on this card, and I thought to either increase her cost or make it to where she doesn't spell boost unless she evolves. But when I thought about it some more, I really think this card would be a lot more manageable if it was just a 3/3 rather than a 4/4 base. Because if you think about it, Anangrea, they're often swinging over 2 attack followers, and that would leave her at about 3 health. And if she's at 3 health, it makes it easier for other decks to out her. A lot of decks have built-in 3 damage removal cards, and I think it's just whenever she's at 4 and 5 that she becomes kind of difficult to deal with. So I think this slight change will make her still strong, but a lot more fair, a lot more manageable. But anyway, let me know what you think about that one. We're moving on to the final card on my list, so make your guesses now. I'm moving forward. 3, 2, 1. Just kidding. We got honorable mentions, actually. Kagemitsu, Enduring Warrior. I know a lot of you want to rework for this guy to get Storm when he's brought back via his Last Words effect, but I actually think he's fine as he is. I think you just need to build the deck with him in mind. But, you know, luckily I think that the sword meta right now, in July 9th, when I'm recording this video, the sword meta is shifting in a way that is allowing Kagemitsu to be played. So I like that a lot. I like that everyone's evolving. Another honorable mention is Gino. I think this card's crazy. It's super powerful, but it doesn't help you go for games, so I think it's actually mostly fair. I would just maybe consider dropping his attack to like 6, so he doesn't just chew up and spit out other like super evolved followers so easily, you know. But finally, the last card on my list is Alouette, Doomright Ward. This card is the bane of my existence sometimes. Alouette is a 2-attack, 4-defense follower with the evolve effect to bring out any artifact follower from your hand, which could either be a 5/1 rush, it could be a 1/5 ward, it could be a 3/5 that heals, it can be a 5/3 that outs your opponent's entire board, or what's mostly going to happen is a 4/4 that deals 3 damage at the end phase of the turn. So I think Alouette is in a similar position to Anangrea in that on turn 4, it's just brutal and really hard for other decks to address it with these. Portal itself, by the way, doesn't even answer that board well whenever it's dropped on them first. And usually they're forced to use like an evolution point, and even then after which you probably did a trade of sorts and are passing on either an empty board or a super weak board. And the worst is when a second Alouette is dropped right after turn 4 and you're forced to deal with the same board again. So while you're struggling to keep up, you're taking damage and your opponent is building up towards their master plan of summoning this big guy right here, Masterwork Artifact Gamma. So yeah, I think for this adjustment I would actually say to increase Alouette's overall cost to 6 and maybe help her make up for it by increasing the attack from 2 to 3. I mean, this gives other decks an additional turn to prepare for the inevitable, and it allowed them to have stronger followers to deal with the Alouette board. Well, guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I know my quality got a little worse and my background changed, but we will get back into regular action. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon in the next Shadowverse Worlds Beyond video. Take it easy. Bye-bye.